Yo, what's going on, man? Today is February the 21st, 2024. It's your boy Chris, and we are back with the NBA, ChrisBeCappinn NBA show. Live on Twitter right now, also live on YouTube as well. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, man. I enjoyed the break. I didn't open sports books. I wasn't betting on college basketball. I didn't bet on the NBA All-Star break, any of the festivities. It was an amazing, I guess it was close to a week now. And I'll take it, man. I'll definitely take it. Not complaining at all. We did end up hitting the last play after back-to-back 1-3, light 1-3 nights. We did get some profit with the Golden State Warriors. I figured they would come out and play like their hair was on fire, and they did in that last game against Utah. So we did close out well. If you guys are new to the show, definitely hit the like button for me if you can. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already, and turn the notification bells on so you guys do know when I go live. I'm gonna try to keep these night shows going. It's been a while since we've had NBA. I feel like I had to learn how to recap the games all over again, man. It had been so long, but glad to be back. I will say that the first game, the first day, sometimes the first 2 days can be real difficult because you don't have a lot of spots. I'm a situational bettor most of the time, and there's not a lot of situations that you're gonna find that's gonna be advantageous unless you get like injury news or different things like that. Then you still gonna have to react to the line pretty quickly. So taking it light for the first couple of days, but we'll ramp up as the season goes on. It's a bunch of games, and I won't go over all of them, but I have handicapped about the first six or seven, and I kind of wanted to share notes with you guys that plays that I'm kind of looking to play. Of course, the injury implications for these games they continue to be crazy, man. So many players are still questionable with an illness, still might not play. It's just a lot going on in the NBA, especially when you have a humongous slate like we have tomorrow. I think it's what 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 games tomorrow, and it doesn't get any lighter because Friday I think is a bunch of games as well. So we'll jump right into it, man. Jump right into it. First game up. Recap real quick. Like I said, Golden State on the money line, 1-0. We did hit that one, which takes us to 27 units. Hopefully we can get up, trying to triple that in the second half of the season. And we typically make a lot more money in the second half of the season than we make in the first. So feel good where we are right now, but we should be a lot better if I'm being honest. First game up. Let's talk about this New York Knicks and Philadelphia 76ers game. So both of these teams kind of limped into the All-Star break. Important for this game, the Knicks, it seemed like, will be a tad bit healthier overall, in my opinion, than the Philadelphia 76ers. So Philly is going to have Kyle Lowry, who they got in the buyout from the Charlotte Hornets, and Darius Bazley was just added to this team as well. Darius Bazley, the second or the third. They used to play for Oklahoma City. He'll be playing for this Philadelphia team as well, as they still gonna miss Joel Embiid. I think Tobias Harris is listed as questionable for this game. He also missed some games as well. And on the Knicks side, all of these guys are Tibbs said that he'll see how their bodies respond. Is the quote unquote. Underdog did put out the injury report that Hartenstein, Bogdanovic, and DiVincenzo are off the injury report, but they have practiced the last 2 days. And barring any setbacks, I think that those guys do anticipate playing. So we'll see what happens there. If New York does have Isaiah Hartenstein and Bogdanovic and DiVincenzo, I do give them the edge in this game, and I do think I'll probably get there with them as dogs in this game. Like I said, both of these teams kind of limped into the All-Star break. The Knicks, 4-game losing streak right before the break, and Philly, they had lost 5 of their last 7 right before the break as well. I think overall the Knicks I know they'll be without OG Anunoby. I know they'll be without Julius Randle, but when you take away Joel Embiid, you don't lose just the offense, but you also lose a lot of defense. And this team right before the break, Philadelphia lost to Miami. And Miami was on the second leg of a back-to-back after beating the Milwaukee Bucks the night before. So I'm not in the laying points with the Philadelphia 76ers at all. I know they got Campaign. I know they got Buddy Hield over there to help the offense, but it doesn't help the defense at all. And in a game like this, I'll take the much more the better defensive team, especially with Hartenstein out there, who is an underrated defender. So it only be Knicks for me in this one. Knicks plus the 1 is the only way I can play this game. And we'll keep it moving. Next game up, we'll go to the streets of Indiana. So we got the Pacers in this one laying a big hefty 11.5. Now we know the Pistons are, I mean, they've been pretty bad, especially right before the break. They made that trade, and then you got guys like Fontecchio and not Bogdanovich, but their core is playing well. Jaden Ivey, Cade Cunningham, Jalen Duren are, they're playing pretty well. They did get smoked in that last game, and they're still on this, road trip. They're back on the East Coast now, but this team hasn't, played a home game, and it's going to be probably about 2.5 weeks before they finally make it back to Detroit. Coming into this one, well, big news on the injury report for this one as well. So Aaron Nesmith will continue to be out for Indiana. He did, I think he tweaked his ankle in the Toronto game right before the All-Star break. You also got Quentin Grimes, who came over in the trade from the Knicks for Detroit. He's listed as doubtful, and Isaiah Hartenstein listed as questionable. I'm definitely not laying 11.5 points with the Indiana Pacers. I think one thing that kind of stands out to me is that the All-Star game was actually in Indiana. So Tyrese Halliburton didn't get as much as a break. He was hosting, like he was the quote unquote host of the All-Star break and had to be. I'm not sure if he got the necessary rest. I'll say it like that he probably would have gotten if the All-Star game would have been anywhere else. So I don't like that for them as much. He did say that he's pretty close to being off the minutes restriction, but I can't lay 11.5 points with Detroit. With the Indiana Pacers. Detroit is 8-6 against the spread as double-digit road dogs this season. And Indiana finished just 3-7 against the spread their last 10 before the All-Star break. So a team like the Pacers, granted they can blow you out, but blowing teams out in the NBA, because it really requires you play some defense. And you see the Pacers just give it up. They gave up a ton of points to the Toronto Raptors team just before the All-Star break and didn't cover that 4-point spread, before those guys were listed out. So this total is really, really high, 247.5. I know that Detroit's been scoring. We know Indiana's the number one offensive team in the NBA. But I would take the points with Detroit in this one. The only way I would be able to look is Detroit plus 11.5 in this one. I do think that they can keep it within 12, but not an official play at all. Just kind of sharing notes and giving you guys my thoughts and perspectives on this one. We'll keep it going. Next game up, we got the Orlando Magic and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Game will be played in Cleveland, and this is a funky injury report as well. This line actually opened, I want to say it was at 8. Then it came down to 7.5, or maybe it was at 7.5, and it came down to 7. And now you see it all the way down. It's still some 7s out there, but you see it down to 6.5 at most books as well. Total 214.5, 215. So big injury news in this one is that Donovan Mitchell is listed as questionable. Darius Garland and Evan Mobley are no longer on the minutes restriction. But on the Orlando side, they got Markelle Fultz out for this one as well. And it is the first leg of a back-to-back for the Cleveland team, not for Orlando, the visiting team, but for Cleveland, it's the first leg of a back-to-back. They do play in Philly tomorrow. I'm not sure which game they take more serious. Probably the home game is what I would think, but we'll see how that goes. Both of these teams come into the game actually kind of hot, man. Or Cleveland, this is how I feel about Cleveland. Cleveland, we made a lot of money with Cleveland. If you've been watching the channel for a while, they were 16-2, I think, 17-2 or something like that in their last 17 games. And they've been covering the number too, especially those short numbers. I know we've been cleaning up. We made a lot of money with Cleveland and a lot of money with Golden State over the last few weeks before the All-Star break. I just feel like you're paying a premium for back in Cleveland now. So, you need them to win by not one possession, 2 possessions. You need them to win by 3 or 4 possessions every single game. And right before the All-Star break, they were playing against a team that, prides themselves on the defensive end, that can score the ball at times, in the Chicago Bulls. And, you see Chicago almost win that game. Chicago probably should have won that game. So I guess I say that to say that I do lean towards Orlando plus the points in this spot. They are 8-2 against the spread in their last 10, 7-3 straight up in their last 10 as well. But Cleveland, like I said, 9-1 straight up in their last 10, but they are just 5-5 against the spread. Because like I said, you're taking Cleveland nowadays, you are laying a pretty big number. This is the 4th head-to-head meeting this season as well. Orlando did win the second game by 10. Then Cleveland won by 27 in the last game. And the second game went under. The third game went over. No idea what that pattern is going to be tonight. but I don't like laying points with a team that's playing on the first leg of a back-to-back. So I think this is one where if you think Mitchell is going to play, you probably go ahead and get in on the number now, because if he does play, this number will probably go back up to 8. But if you want Orlando and you think Donovan Mitchell is going to play, the illness won't affect him, because typically he will play throughout illnesses. Then you wait if you want Orlando, because you probably will be able to get a +8 tomorrow when Donovan Mitchell is rolled in if he does play. What else did I have in here? Orlando, they finished the first half of the season, or throughout the All-Star break, they were 13-9-1 against the spread as road dogs, 59%, which is actually the 4th highest covering rate. So road dog wise, Orlando did really, really well, something that they did last year as well. But Cleveland also finished pretty well as a home favorite, 12-8-1 against the spread. So they're 60%, and they were covering at the 7th highest rate before the All-Star break. So I do think that, if I had to play the game, first of all, I'll wait for the news with Donovan Mitchell, but I would probably be taking the points with Orlando in this spot, thinking that they will be able to keep it, within 2 or 3 possessions against this Cleveland Cavalier team. Orlando is healthy now, and that's one thing that I think, my opinion, has really helped them is their health. And I know Cleveland has been balling their all world, and I typically don't like betting against them, but I do feel like they potentially will be laying a tad bit too many points if Donovan Mitchell does play in this game. So those are my thoughts on that one. A couple more games to get to real quick. Like I said, I only capped about 6 or 7 of these games, so I still got about the last 4 or 5, I think, maybe 6 games to run through. So I won't get into the later games on the slate, but I will do that tomorrow when I do the show at 5 p.m. Eastern time. And if you guys want all my plays, like I always say, when I make them, I haven't made a play yet. I got some things I'm kind of looking towards. Definitely want to, like I said, the injury report is kind of wonky. But if you want all my plays, there will be, in the YouTube membership chat. So definitely, subscribe if you guys would like to do that. But keeping it moving. Next game up, and I do kind of got a strong feel on this one. Haven't bet it yet either. So you got Brooklyn. They will be in Toronto, getting 2 points. This number actually opened at 3, I think, and it came down to 2.5, and now you see it down to 2, down to 1.5 at some spots. I think this is a winnable game for Brooklyn here. Total sitting at 231.5. Biggest news in this game, of course, is the firing of Brooklyn did fire Coach Jacques Vaughn. Maybe it motivates them. You got Kevin Ollie, who played in the NBA for a very long time. I remember Kevin Ollie being on a lot of teams, coming off the bench for him. And he says that he wants these guys playing with a bunch of energy, and he wanted them to have a hunter mentality. He doesn't want them last and getting loose balls and getting on the floor and getting after it and playing defense. And sounds like they've had a couple good practices as well. You never really want to bet against a team that just fired their head coach. You either bet on the team or you stay off the game. Neither one of these teams went into the All-Star break doing well, which led to Coach Jacques Vaughn being fired. Brooklyn went into the break just 3-6-1 against the spread in their last 10. They're only 9-14 against the spread on the road this season, and 8-16 straight up. So not a spot you necessarily want to bet on Brooklyn in. But like I said, the firing of Jacques Vaughn, I think, really motivates them. And Toronto is a fadeable team, in my opinion. I'm not big on this Toronto team. They went 5-5 against the spread in their last 10, just 12-15 against the spread at home. And as a home favorite this season, they're not profitable, just 7-8 against the spread as a home favorite as well. Brooklyn has dominated the head-to-head matchup as well. They won 8 of the last 10 straight up and against the spread. And for Toronto, it's also the first leg of a back-to-back, a home road back-to-back at that, because while they will be in Toronto tomorrow night, they actually got to fly to Atlanta on Friday to play the Hawks. So maybe a shorter revenge game. I do think this is an under-type game as well. Brooklyn, with the firing of Coach Jacques Vaughn, I think they come out, play some inspired basketball, specifically on the defensive end. I don't think that they have a lot, too much offense, in my opinion. Toronto, missing a bunch of pieces offensively that they had to start the season, and they actually finished 24th in offensive rating over the last 10 games as well. So under 231.5, but more specifically, maybe under, on the team total for the Toronto Raptors specifically. And this one is the way I'll be looking at. I think that I wrote it down. You'll see it at the end of the presentation. I think it's 116.5. I don't think Toronto scores 117 points. Actually, one of my favorite spots so far. Like I said, I haven't bet anything, but Toronto team total to go under. Brooklyn plays at too slow of a pace. I don't think that Toronto will get enough possessions to score that many points. And I see it. I see the Brooklyn Nets playing some inspired basketball, specifically on the defensive end in this one. So really hard to bet Brooklyn on the road. I gave you guys the numbers. 3-6-1 against the spread last 10, 9-14 ATS on the road, 8-16 straight up on the road. But I do think they're the right side. And I think, if you want to stay away from the spread, you could take Toronto team total to go under the 116.5 number in this one. Like I said, one of my favorite spots for sure. One of the last games that I capped, I think I might got 2 or 3 more for you guys. So Phoenix and Dallas. I think this spread opened with Dallas laying 3. And now you see Dallas they're down to 2.5 point favorites now. Total in this one dropping as well. You guys see 243.5, but there's actually some 244s.5. I just put the consensus number. I always put the consensus number, but 244.5s out there still available as well. This is an under type game. I do think the under is the right play in this one. So getting to the side first, Phoenix, they did kind of they played well to to go into the All-Star break. They were 7-3 straight up, and against the spread in their last 10 games. They are 4-5 straight up as road dogs as well. I remember trying to fade Phoenix the last time they were a road dog. I think it was that game against the New Orleans Pelicans, and they took my money. It was pretty easy in that game. They also went to Dallas and won that last game as well. We know what happened the first time they played on Christmas Day, and Luka did what Luka always does to these guys. But Phoenix has been healthy, right? In this game, you do have to worry another injury report that does impact the game. Bradley Beal is listed as questionable in this game, and I do think that that's a big component. Dallas has been balling on the opposite side as well. They are only 8-10 against the spread as home favorites, but I think they won 6 games in a row going into the All-Star break. And for this game, they actually get Derek Lively back. So you got Luka, you got Kyrie, you got Lively, you still got Daniel Gafford coming in off the bench, PJ Washington, and now you get Lively back. So I think that's big for Dallas. Dallas is, I think, going to continue to be bet on as long as they're not laying one of those big numbers like they were laying against the Washington Wizards right before the break, and they didn't cover that. These are 2 teams that I don't necessarily want to bet against. I'll tell you that. I think the better play in this game is the under. I do think the under, and I'm not big in betting unders like right out of the All-Star break. I feel like teams kind of have their legs. Well, I ain't gonna say have their legs underneath them, but they have a bunch of energy, and it's easy to go down and score buckets, especially when you kind of find yourself in a rhythm. Both of these teams also been playing at a just getting a bunch of possessions. So I was looking at the possession numbers. Both of these teams getting a bunch of possessions. In their last 5 and 10 games as well. So it's a scary play, but I will tell you guys that, Phoenix is 7-2 to the under as road dogs. This is typically when they play their best brand of defense. 7-2 is what? It's like almost 77%. Right now, 77%, but it's a high percentage. 7 of the 9 opponents have actually stayed under their team total in this spot. Dallas 6-2 to the under in their last 8 games as home favorites. So they've been playing defense when they've been a favorite as well. And this is, 2 teams that don't like each other. We know what happened in the last matchup when, Grant Williams tried to stand over top of, Kevin Durant, and the history back and forth between Devin Booker and Luka Doncic. So I do think the defense comes to play in this one. I like this one to stay under the total of 244. And like I gave you guys the numbers, I gave you guys my opinions. You do hear the reports come out from Phoenix that Devin Booker says that it's go time now with the second half of the season. Hopefully they can string together some health, some health stuff. They got Thaddeus Young, bought him in, traded for a couple guys as well, a couple big pieces like Royce O'Neal that I think is going to help. But I think defensively, Phoenix is going to be a little bit better once they start getting everybody into the place that they're supposed to be as well. And I like what Dallas did defensively. I really, really love the additional Daniel Gafford. Their numbers, the defensive numbers get a lot better with him on the floor. I looked into that as well. Defense ranks really, really well with Daniel Gafford in about 150 possessions that he's played so far. And PJ Washington as well. PJ Washington has actually helped the defense more than he's helped the offense so far. Now, granted, he's a shooter, but I didn't think of him as a defender, but the numbers with him so far, he's been really good defensively as well. So I lean under 2. Like I said, you can get a better number than the 243 you guys see. I haven't played it yet, but I'm probably going to get there with the under 244.5 in this one. What else I got? I got one more for you guys. Last one. I think this is the last one. Celtics and the Bulls. So Bulls are, this is actually 8 when I wrote it down. Bulls are getting 7.5 at the crib. Total sitting at 225.5. This total was 226, so it's come down a little bit. And spread was 7-ish, 7.5. So it hasn't really moved a lot. This is the game I really don't have a strong opinion on at all. Injury-wise, Celtics look to be fully healthy outside of Xavier Tillman and Jaden Springer, who hasn't played with them anyway. Neither one of those guys have. So you get the Celtics with their full roster. Bulls will have the same roster that they had right before. Torrey Craig looks like he's going to be evaluated in a couple weeks. They still be without Zach LaVine, who's going to miss the rest of the season also. Celtics beat the brakes off the Bulls the last time these two teams played. It was the game that the Celtics needed to win by a big margin so that they could qualify for the in-season tournament. And they did. I think they won the game by like 25-26. Maybe the Bulls remember that. Maybe they got this one circled on their calendar. The Bulls have been playing pretty good basketball. They're very competitive. They played a really really slow pace. I can see this game going under the total just because they play so slow. And the Celtics defense has really, really played well. They haven't been covering numbers, but it's not necessarily because of their defense. It's more so because of their offense. Now, they did blow out the Brooklyn Nets at home right before the All-Star break. But the game before that, I think that was a game that went under when they played the night before in Brooklyn. And they still, been a stout defensive team. With Porzingis in there, you got Al Horford tomorrow as well. Neither one of these teams, on the first leg of a back-to-back, they don't play Friday. So it's a really tough game to kind of handicap. The Celtics, they don't do great as road favorites in conference games, just 5-7-3 against the number, where Chicago, straight up as a home dog in conference games, they're 3-2, 3-2 straight up and against the spread. So I guess I lean Chicago. We know that the Celtics can blow this team out. If you want to play Boston, I do think you might want to play first half. They've been the best first half team throughout the season. 39-15-1 against the spread is the Boston Celtics in the first half of the season. But it gets even better because on the road, I don't think I realized this. On the road, Boston finished 21-5 against the spread. On the road, 21-5. The best, of course, ATS number, 21-5 against the spread on the road. Chicago finished just 26-27-2 against the spread at home this season so far. So I do think you get in and get out with Boston. We know that they can have some slippage in the second half, specifically in the third quarter. So if I'm playing the game, I'm probably taking Boston first half, but that alone is not enough for me to take it. Most of the time, those things continue to cash, but it's not enough alone for me to take it. But Boston is by far the much better team. Much more depth, in my opinion, as well, especially with Chicago having the injuries to Patrick Williams and, Torrey Craig and all the other guys. I think there's a couple more guys that they're going to be missing as well. So Boston should be in a spot where they could dominate, but, backdoor cover potentially, maybe. I'm not 100% sure. Definitely a game I won't be playing. Did I do one more? Yeah, I did do one more. So last game, I think this is the last game that I handicap. Houston, New Orleans. This is going to be an interesting game as well. So injury-wise, I think it's important to note that Fred VanVleet did say he would return in this game. I'm not sure if that helps the Rockets. I know if you guys been watching the show, I talked a lot about the Rockets, not backing them before the All-Star break because I don't trust the Rockets without Fred VanVleet. Now, he's missed the last 5 games that the Rockets have played. And in my opinion, the Rockets, I think it could take them a while to get reacclimated, right? We know if this game was at home, I think I'd be on the Rockets. But, with him needing, maybe a couple games, Cam Whitmore needing a couple games, maybe a quarter or two to kind of get acclimated, the Pelicans actually can stomp this team, I think, if they, really, really wanted to in this spot. The problem is, on the opposite side, you got you got Brandon Ingram listed as questionable with an illness. So another really, really difficult game. I do think that, looking at the standings, kind of taking a step back, Houston is 3.5 games out of the play-in spot in the West. So it's like Lakers, Golden State, or Golden State Lakers, whatever the case might be. Those are the teams that if the season ended right now, I think it will be those two teams that will be in. And then you got Houston and Utah kind of jockeying for, they're going to have to win some games and get some help. But they, have a chance to continue to participate in the play, like get up to the play-in game realistic chance if they can, string together some wins. And I'm not sure if Houston's going to be able to do so. I just feel like their road record is so bad, man. This team's 5-21 straight up on the road. And I mean, that's not playoff caliber. That's not in-season tournament team, not in-season, play-in tournament caliber type team. This New Orleans team has been they thrive at home. 17-8-1 against the spread, because if you want to take them, you definitely want to take them in the first half. 17-8-1 against the spread in the first half, which is the third best ATS record. But like I said, it's really difficult to get there without Brandon Ingram. He is a big part of that offense, kind of playing more of a point guard role for them, getting everybody else involved, shooting a bunch of mid-range jump shots. His pull-up game is impeccable. And for Houston, it's also the first leg of a back-to-back. Both teams' first leg of a back-to-back, I want to say. Houston first leg of back-to-back. Like I said, 5-21 straight up in road games. And I looked at something for Houston. When they play on the road and they lose, they've only covered 5 of the 21 spreads that they've lost, the games that they've been in. So they're 5-15-1 against the spread when they lose on the road. So that's a 10 point a minus 10 in point differential. They're losing the game by about 10 points when they do lose on the road. Whereas the New Orleans Pelicans, when they win at home, it's almost it's more than double digits. I want to say, did I write that down? 17. They're plus 17 in point differential when they win at home. New Orleans is 14-2 against the spread, and they're 16 home wins. So when New Orleans wins at home, they cover. When the Rockets lose on the road, they don't cover. Like I said, just 5 covers out of 21 games. And the Pelicans have only failed to cover in 2 games out of 16 when they're a home favorite, and they win the game. So if you think that the Rockets if you think that the Pelicans going to win, you probably want to take them on the number and say that they end up covering. Maybe a get in and get out spot, because like I said, 17-8-1 against the spread at home. But I feel like you can't get there without the status of Brandon Ingram. And I do, like I said, I think Fred VanVleet, if he says he's going to play, if he plays, I do think he'll be rusty in the spot. And I also wanted to mention the total just real quick. The under is 8-1-1 last 10 head-to-head meetings. And these two teams have already played, I want to say 3 times, and this is the last one, or at least 2 times already. I know Houston stole one on the second leg of a back-to-back a little bit earlier this season. So only way I would wait on the Brandon Ingram news. I do think that he means enough to wait in this one. But that's the only way I would be able to look at this one in totality. So just a quick recap, man. Like I said, I haven't placed the bet yet, but these are the top looks, man. I do want Toronto team total. Like I said, I think Brooklyn brings it tomorrow, especially defensively. They play with a really slow pace. I don't think Toronto scores 117 points. I think that's a really good look there. Like I said, I haven't played it. Phoenix and Dallas to go under the 244. Definitely shop around for the best number, because there are some 244s out there. But I gave you guys the numbers. Phoenix is 7-2 to the under when they're a road dog this season. Dallas is 6-2 to the under in their last 8 games as a home favorite. Defense gets a lot better with Lively out there, with Daniel Gafford out there that can really protect the rim. I still think both of these teams just don't like each other. So typically you see more defense being played in those type of games. So both of those unders. And New York, like I said, Thibodeau did say that, he wanted to see how the guys responded. So even though they are not on the injury report, it wouldn't surprise me if one of them did pop up. And I'm talking about Dante DiVincenzo, I'm talking about Bogdanovich, and I'm talking about Isaiah Hartenstein. Those 3 guys moved the needle definitely for this Knicks team that's lost 4 games in a row. And I think they failed to cover like 5 out of their last 6 as well. So those would be the top looks for me so far. Like I said, I still got to go through and take a deeper dive into the Clippers in the OKC game, Charlotte and Utah, Washington, Denver, the Lakers and Golden State. I know LeBron got ruled out. I didn't want the 4.5 with Golden State, but I do think that they're going to win the game. So maybe a little money line parlay. I do think that Golden State is going to win the game. Porzingis did come out today and said that, that Coach Steve Kerr bought the standings out after the end of practice and showed them where they were standing at, and said that he wasn't pushing for a play-in spot. He's trying to get Golden State wants to get to the fifth seed if they can. They want to potentially have a really good seed going into the playoffs. So I do think Golden State is going to continue to be better on. And I think that they do hand my Lakers another loss tomorrow without LeBron James being there. Lakers are 4-3 straight up, 3-4 against the spread without LeBron this season. So we'll see where that number goes to. I don't think it's going to get too much higher than the 6 that it is right now, maybe 6.5. I just worry about Golden State potentially overlooking, even though it's a revenge spot, then potentially overlooking the Lakers without LeBron James. So also 6-1 to the over are the Lakers without LeBron this season as well. Average total going about 239 points combined. So that was the early preliminary work. Also, Christian Wood is going to be out and Anthony Davis listed as probable. That was the early preliminary work I did on that game. And then San Antonio, Sacramento, probably be a game that I'm not going to get involved in, but do see that spreads drop from 11.5 to 9.5. So those are my thoughts, man. If you guys enjoy the content, if you guys enjoy the videos, do me a favor, hit the like button for me if you can. I'll check the comments offline. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern time as always for the ChrisBeCappinn NBA show. A list of all the resources that I'm using to handicap the games. You guys see them here. For anybody that, got any questions about them, shoot me a DM on Twitter at ChrisBeCappinn, 2 P's, 2 N's. Best of luck to you guys on all your action. If you already got bets in, best of luck there. Link for all my plays in the description always. Bet responsibly. Enjoy the games. Like I said, I'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern as always, man. Catch you guys in the next one. I'm out.